Hi everybody, this is Michelle. I had a lot of people ask me yesterday about how I make my chunky charms. Sorry, I didn't even have it laying over here. And this would be one of them. And I have decided to do a little video on how I make these. They're really easy. Takes about an hour to make a whole one. But how I start is I collect all my beads. And these are the beads that I have chosen. I'm going to make another beach themed one. And then what I do is I take head pins. And they come in different sizes, but I like these long ones because I know whatever I do will fit on these. And I make little charms out of all of my beads. So I'm going to show you how to do a couple of those really quickly. So I would just take my bead and put it on there, just like so. If I can find the hole for that bead, there we go. And then once I get them all on the head pin like this, I am going to take a pair of needle nose pliers that are specifically made for jewelry, and I am going to hold my beads, and I'm going to grab about 1/8 of an inch above the beads, and I'm just going to bend it at a 45, that's not 45, that's 90, 90 degree angle. And then I'm going to use the wire cutters that are in here, and I'm going to cut this to about 1/4 of an inch. You want this part to be about 1/4 of an inch long, and then I'm going to, you kind of do for this part, let me add this real quick. Use jewelry making needle nose pliers because the tips are completely round, which we're going to need. And these are my husband's, obviously not mine because they're all rusted, but I do use these also because you do need 2 pair of needle nose pliers to make these. But his, as you can see, are not rounded, and I need to be able, you'll see why in a sec, but I need these to be round. So I am going to go back to this pair, and I'm going to take my little charm that we're making, and I'm going to grab it towards the very end, and then I am just going to turn my hand, and I'm going to make this a loop, just like that. That one didn't come out perfectly, but it's pretty close. So in the end, this is how it's going to look. You're just going to have a little loop, just like you would have on any charm at all that you would buy. So we'll make another one real quick. It's going to look exactly the same. For this particular project, I laid out all my beads first. I don't necessarily always do that. But I did for this one because I wanted specific colors, and I wanted to use the seashells and other things that I had that looked like seashells. So we'll cut that off real quick. Okay, now we're back to the part where we're going to bend it. To me, this is the hardest part because it can get, it's hard to do. It's not that easy. I mean, it is, but it's not, if you know what I mean. You want to grab it and flip it over. And sometimes it won't close all the way, like this one did not. There's a little gap here, and you can't have that gap because it won't stay on your charm. So you turn it, keep turning it, and then if you still have a little gap, you can grab it and close it like that, and that will work. As long as it's closed, you've done a good job. So we'll make one more, and that'll be all of them, because I pre-made a bunch of these so that y'all didn't have to sit here for an hour and watch me do this, because this is one of, there are 2 time-consuming parts, and that's putting the beads on the pins and making charms, and then adding them to the charm itself. Everything else is pretty easy, I guess. Picking the charms, or picking the beads rather, is pretty easy. So we're just going to bend that around. And if you cut this, when you're cutting when you bend it at a 90 degree angle and then you cut, you want it to be about 1/4 of an inch, because anything longer, and this will not want to connect above your bead, if that makes sense. This will not, the open end will not bend into your bead, and if you make it too short, you won't be able to get a complete circle. And either way, you kind of have to start over. So I learned the hard way. Okay, so now I've got all of these beads ready to go, these dangles ready to go, charms, whatever you want to call them. And so this is what we're going to use to make our charm. Or, yeah, charm. Okay, I have a big lobster clip. And then I have, I forgot what these are called, but it's just like a teeny tiny little keychain where it opens on one end and the other, and you know, twist to put stuff on. That is what I'm going to use to connect the chain to my lobster clip. And then I just pulled out about, what is this, maybe 3.5 inches of chain. And then of course I have my little charm, and that says it's homemade by me. And then this is what I'm going to use for the anchor of my charm, which would be the very bottom piece, which is what I used on this one also. And we're going to attach that to the very bottom of our chain once we get our setup put together. So the first thing we need to do there is we're going to use a little bit bigger ring. And this is what I use my husband's for, is to just grab the sides of things. And then I use my good ones, which will not damage the metal, to do all the twisting. And so I'm just going to make a charm out of this piece of sea glass with a little hole at the top. Oops, I don't want to do that yet, do I? I want to put it on my chain. And so I'm just going to loop this through here. And so now my chain is on here and my piece of sea glass is on here. And I am going to close this up, just like that. And that is going to be, unless I break it, that is going to be the start of our charm. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to attach this, and I'm just going to use my fingernails, which I know I'm not supposed to do, but it's okay. And then I'm going to take the top link on this chain and thread it, maybe, onto here, just like that, just like you're putting a key on. And I'm also going to put this on at the same time. They're both going to go on here, so that's not going to work. I have to open it more. So I'm going to attach both of these really quickly, like so. And that is the beginning of our charm. Now, I guess something else is that I bought this ornament hanger, and I can't remember where I got it. I want to say Tuesday Morning or Joann's, but I don't remember. And but this is very useful, because what I will do is I will take my lobster clip and hang it on here, and now it's hanging, so that as I'm attaching the charms, I can see how they're laying against each other, like this one. See, this shows you, well, I guess it's going to tilt. You can't really see it. Okay. But you can see how they lay. You can see if you have any spots where some are longer than others, or if you just, you know, need to add some somewhere, you got a bald spot, whatever. So I tend to put them on just like that. I hang it on my hanger, and then I will need, I have this big container of these rings that I bought, and again, I don't remember where. A lot of this stuff, if I see stuff on clearance, I buy it, and that's kind of the end of that. I don't remember anything about where I got it. But we're going to take the next to smallest size rings, and we're going to open them up like so. And let's see, I want to put this at the bottom of my charm. And I'm going to put this on here, and then I'm going to try to hold it up against the anchor. I want the anchor to hang just a little bit lower down than the rest of the charm. So what I do is I kind of audition where I want it. And if this is a good length, because you'll still be able to see the sea glass at the bottom, then what I'll do is I'm going to put this open ring, which I just lost my charm, and I'm going to slip it through one of the links of my chain, like this. And then I'm just going to close it. And then you can see where it hangs, and you can tell if it's too low or too high. You know, ideally, we're not going to really want to see a whole lot of this chain when we're done, except up at the very top. So the way I do this is that I actually am going to put one charm on every link all the way up. Or ideally, that's what I'm going to do. Yesterday I had, on one of the ones I made, I had charms left over, and then on another one I didn't have enough, so I had to go back and make more. So, let's see, what are we going to put on here next? Let's put some seashells on next. And I open my ring. I put it through the loop we made on the charm. And then, I guess to get an even distribution around here, you know, all the way around the charm, when I put this one on, the first one, I want to go to the link right above it and put the next one on. I slip it through the link and then I close it. And then we're going to continue. I need to get a few more on there before I can kind of tell you about the next step. I maybe should have made a few of these in advance, but I did not. Didn't have that much time to prep. Now when I get to the third one, what I want to do is I want to look at where my first one is, which is right here, and I want to alternate sides of the link. Like this one is hooked on this side of the link. The next one I want to be on the back side of the link. So you kind of want to go in a well, I'm going in a counterclockwise motion. You can go in either direction you'd like. For some reason I do clockwise or counterclockwise. And so then we're starting to get shape here. We've got our 3 charms on, and I'm just going to continue to go counterclockwise around my charm until I get all of them on. And I try to pay attention to how I'm putting the charms on, and I try to get to where there's not two exactly alike right next to each other. Unless you make a ton of these different ones, you're not going to be able to do that. But let's see. I want to find the last one I did and then look at the one below it, and it's on the opposite side hanging down. So I want to put this one on the front side so that I'm continuing to turn this in a counterclockwise position, and it's going to fill out perfectly if you do it that way. Let's see. I wish I knew how to make videos better and I could like kind of fast forward through some of this. But unfortunately, I don't know how to do that yet. Maybe I can figure it out before I post. I don't know. We'll see. So that you don't have to sit and watch this whole thing. Okay, I find my last one. And sometimes, I don't know if your eyes are as good as mine. This is hard to do sometimes. Pay attention to where they're at. Let's see, this one's on the side. And I want it on this side. Wow. Okay, it's hard to talk and do this, to be honest with you. And then that one's on. So I'm trying to distribute the color, which it'll kind of happen on its own. But just to show you, this one was totally random. Everything I did on here was completely random. I just really wanted it to be colorful. So I just actually threw out a whole bunch of beads and just started putting them on. Whereas with this one, I made basically 3 sets of everything. There's 3 of everything. So that way I could kind of keep track of how I was distributing them. So that I don't get to the top and have 3 of something, 2 or 3 of something left over and have to put them together. So I will actually separate them out like that so I can tell. But another useful thing about this is when you're working with the round beads that tend to want to roll, you can put them in here and it keeps them right where you need them. That's just another little trick I like about this one. So we're gonna open the clip, find one we haven't used yet, and put it on. And this one is hooked in the front, so I want to turn it and go to the back. I hope that makes sense to y'all, turning the chain. Because if you put them all on the same side, you're going to be heavy on whichever two sides you put them on, because each one alternates front and sideways, I guess. They go like this and then like this. So it does, I don't know if y'all can really see that, but I want one to go here facing front, one on the right, one facing back, one on the left. That's kind of how I'm going in a pattern. I feel like that's probably the hardest part to explain, and definitely the hardest part to show you. But that is, if you continue that, it will work out to where every single space on your charm is full, and that's what makes it nice and extra chunky. So let's see what I do this side. And typically when I cut this chain, I measured it at about 3.5 inches. I don't always measure. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 3.5. But you always need about 30 charms, give or take. Sometimes if I make really big charms, I may not fill every single link on the way up because it would just be a little too heavy and too bulky. But I kind of love that. I just hope that, you know, I buy good enough chain that it doesn't break. I have not had that happen yet. I have been making these for quite a while. Maybe 4 or 5 years, I guess. That one's on the back. This one on the front. We're gonna do, let's see, what have I not used? I have not used one of these. We'll use this. And there we go. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to look and see what I've already used one of everything, so I want to start paying attention a little bit to, like, see, I have somehow managed to get all of my shells and colored beads, or uncolored beads, over on one side. So let's try to get something like this over there. Let's see, that one's on the front and that one's on the left. I want to go right. And when I'm not making a video and I get into a real groove doing this, it goes a lot faster and a lot easier. And like I said, from beginning to end, it usually takes about an hour. From the time I start picking my beads and gathering my supplies to the very end product. So it really doesn't take that long. Once you start putting it together, like I said, the hardest part is, or the longest part, is putting all of your beads on eye pins and making charms out of them. You can actually use charms to make these. I've done that before. It wasn't all charms, but I added charms in instead of making them out of beads. You know, kind of like with the shells. You know, you call that a charm more than a bead, really. And that looks pretty too. As a matter of fact, I have a whole bunch of seashell charms. I probably should have added some to this, but it's a little late now. Maybe the next one. I plan on making these. I made 4 yesterday. I'll probably knock out another 4 today. And these will all be, if you don't want to make your own, if you don't have the tools or just don't have the patience, I will be putting these up for sale in my shop. And I can put a link below below this video. Let's see, what do we need? What do we need? I could use one of these. I went and looked for some more of these shells today because I only had these 3 left. They don't have them anymore, and I can't remember where I got them, as usual. But I liked them. I wished I could find more. I did find some really big green ones, but they wouldn't have worked well for this project. And so I just keep grabbing. I'm trying to be random, but without grabbing the same thing. Or the same exact charm. And I know I wanted this to be 2 basic colors, which would be the bright blue and then the kind of off-white of the seashells. This is my favorite kind of charm to make, a beach-themed charm. The beach we typically go to as a family has water this color, and it's amazing. So these colors always make me think of the beach. And there we go with that. Maybe I should go a little faster. I know y'all are probably tired of hearing this blather on, but I want you to see the finished product. Maybe I didn't make enough charms. That might be a problem. Let's see. You could use a chain with a bigger link in it, which when I go to buy some I will, but this is just what I have. It's just what I had on hand, so I just used that. But if I had my choice, it would be a bigger link, so this would go a little more easily. I have to wear my reading glasses to see this. Well, that tore up, so I guess I'm not using that. Right before I started filming, I dropped my camera on my desk and stuff went everywhere. I thought I had checked all my charms to see if any didn't break, but that one did. I'm surprised I didn't break my glass mat that I just bought. I think if these links were bigger, I would actually count them so that I knew if I had enough charms. That would probably be a very responsible thing to do as far as having all of your supplies ready. Unfortunately, I'm never quite that organized. Because it looks like, I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like I might be running a little short. of charms. And there's a couple of things I can do about that. I can either make a couple more really quick and add them on, or I can just adjust my chain, which for the sake of speed is probably what I'll do if we get to the end and let me see, did this break? No, it didn't break, it just kind of came undone. The whole of the shell, yeah, that's too small. Let me grab one of these really fast. I just bought new pins, and the heads on some of them are really small, and I did have an issue with some of my beads wanting to come right off the end. No, that one goes that way, that's why. Yeah, the head on that pin is much bigger. We're good to go. So let's make another one of these really quick. And loop it around. And just make sure it's closed. There we go. Alright, that was going to get on my nerves until I fixed it. Okay, quickly. I already have one out. That's okay. And another thing, I guess, is that when you're making these little loops, I know they're supposed to look a certain way, and they should if they're going to be seen, like on actual jewelry. You know, if you're making a bracelet or whatever, you don't want those to look ugly and messy. But for this, if they're not perfect, that's okay, because until you get to the very top, nobody's even going to see them. And you kind of hope that it's pretty enough that they won't pay attention anyway. So we are getting close to done. I might need a couple of more charms, but I can still finish it up enough to where you will definitely be able to tell what it's going to look like. And there we go. She's almost done. And if this is short, I think what I'll do is once I've kind of finished everything else up except adding a couple of charms, I'll go back and make some more instead of cutting it shorter. I don't know why, but I use these on my journals is what I do. I attach them to the spine, and for some reason I want it to take up the majority of the spine of the book. I don't want it to stop halfway down. I want it to come almost to the bottom. So I really like these to be kind of long. I mean, by the time it's all said and done, 3.5 inches of chain will give you about, I'm thinking 4.5 to 5 inches of actual charm from top to bottom. Okay, I'm not sure what had just happened. My camera just turned off. If I have to do this all over, I'm going to be really upset. Okay. I've got 2 charms left. I technically need more, but that's okay. I'll make them in a minute. I really just wanted y'all to see a primarily finished product. So, and see that it does go a little quickly. Let's see, this one is going to go on the front. And that goes there. And that's all I have. I need, let's see, so what I'll do is count the links and see how many more I need. So that's be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 5 more charms to complete it, but you get the general idea. She's pretty much done. And that's what it's going to look like. So, I really hope that was helpful. I hope y'all understood it. If not, leave me a comment and I would be more than happy to answer your questions. Oh, and I guess I do attach this too. I just put the ring on here and I attach it at the very top. That way, if you don't like it, it's kind of easy to come off. But anyway, I appreciate y'all watching, and leave me a comment or like the video if you liked it. Like, obviously, like the video if you liked it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Bye.